Okay, other banter? Anyone else got any other banter? Tommy, what you been up
Ocon's
to?
overtake on this.
Let's not know.
Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to the WTF1 podcast. We are back here for the penultimate race of the season, the Brazilian Grand Prix, and there needs to be some divisions, some partitions, potentially, I don't know, put up between, I think, me and Tommy, but I don't know what Jess's opinion is. We'll find out. Obviously, we know what we're going to be talking about in terms of opinions. I'm Matt.
I'm Tommy.
And I'm Jess.
You're back, Tommy, after your Mexico sabbatical.
Yeah.
Did you struggle watching your friend Jason, your best man Jason, feature?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I missed seeing you guys in a cupboard. You were in a weird cupboard, like you
wasn't a
might as well
cupboard.
have been in Milton
It
Keynes.
was an office.
It was a boardroom.
Yeah, it was. I didn't really get the Mexican vibe from it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it
But,
didn't
you know.
really look anything like the Mexican vibe, did it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've
We're
got
in Brazil,
a lot.
by the way.
Are we?
Yeah, we're in Brazil.
We're really not.
I mean,
It's freezing outside.
yeah. We've probably got quite a bit to. Well, I say quite a bit to chat about. More like there's certain incidents which I think will feature quite a lot of discussion.
Get the timer on, Ali.
So yeah, Ali will start screaming. 40 minutes. Let's get into some 3-word race reviews from fans. So Finn_so, Ocon the wingman, Romeo Charlie 200, Esteban, it's James, Johan V82, Verstappen true winner, and TJ.0603, Esther ban Ocon.
Ooh.
Banter.
So shall we get into the incident at hand? We may as well. We may as well dive straight
What
in
incident?
because it's going to be. We're going straight in.
Straight in
Yeah,
there?
because I mean the title's going to
No
say it. The
warm-up.
thumbnail's going to say it. No warm up. No warm up at all. This is it.
I'm not
Okay.
prepared for this.
Let's
I
go
am
straight in
because
there.
my 3-word race review is don't blame Ocon.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Max
I don't
fans
know
triggered.
who should start. I've genuinely been
start.
looking forward to
just
this
go for it, just
podcast
go for
the
it.
entire day because I know that there's probably going to be a heated discussion. Even just before I was watching the incident, as you kept saying, stop watching the incident.
Yeah.
I'm fearing for your life right now, Matthew.
Yeah.
Let me
Please
just...
don't shank me.
I'm so glad you said shank.
Yeah. Unless I was about to say something nice about Max, I don't think it was going to be anything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Let's talk about the the Max Esteban incident. I guess, well, in Internet Special Reactions, which has gone out, people kind of know where I sit on this and the fact that it's not 100% to blame for anyone in my angle. I don't, in terms of the actual incident happening, it's Ocon's fault because Ocon's gone for a move that's stupid. He's gone for to unlap him. He's 2 laps down and he's gone to unlap himself on the leader. So I completely agree Esteban was stupid for going for it. But in terms of how Max dealt with it, I think he was just as at fault for the actual incident happening.
Do you want to describe the event?
Sure. So this hand is Max. This hand is Esteban.
For
Actually.
Sorry,
audio.
So my hands are about half a metre apart. Okay, yeah. So I mean, we watched the video only just recently, which was quite impactful in my opinion. Was the Esteban on board from Tommy?
Sorry.
It's taken 5 minutes and you've already hit your microphone or
Okay.
my microphone. Leave my microphone alone.
Turns you off when you're saying bad things.
So coming round the final corner, Esteban was probably a good 6-7 car lengths behind Max, which and we didn't see that in the F1 feed, did we?
No.
We didn't see any of this. We just saw.
Force
into turn
India
one.
have always had that insane straight line speed, haven't they? And yeah,
And the closing speed he had was
it's insane.
unbelievable. I couldn't believe watching it. I was like, holy cow! And he was almost ahead of Max going into turn 1. It's safe to say. Like Max would
They
have
were side
seen
by
him.
side.
Yeah.
Definitely side by side.
If not a tiny bit ahead, Ocon, and so Max would have seen him because. I like how you're shaking your head. Max goes defensive into turn 1, so he knows Ocon's coming. He's gone off the racing line to defend his position, which I'm going to question. Obviously, they're going 200 odd miles an hour, so I'm not questioning that it's heat at the moment and this has happened. But he's gone defensive on a back marker. That's my issue there. I'm not going to continue
Right.
my entire opinion because I might be here for 5-10 minutes. So feel free to chime in.
I mean,
Bearing in
I
mind
don't
that
even
this is
know
coming
where-
from a Max Verstappen fanboy, just as a.
yeah. I mean, he's 2 laps down for a start. So why he went for the move? I think where I stand on it is that it's definitely Ocon's fault because you don't race the leader like that. And not only do you not race the leader like that, even if he was fighting him for first place, it's a lunge that was just like Sebastian Vettel's lunge on Verstappen at Suzuka, where he wasn't really alongside, he was always going to close the door, he wasn't ahead of him, and like Esteban was trying to defend his move by showing clips of him overtaking Alonso,
which I thought was
which
stupid.
Yeah.
which I mean,
that
Alonso
comparison
was you know,
he's driving a tractor.
yeah, exactly. That was stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my opinion.
And I completely agree on the fact that Ocon shouldn't have gone for the move. I completely agree with that. But the way I've kind of dissected it is that bit, fine, that's completely Ocon's fault. He shouldn't be racing the leader. But that situation is happening. Like, Max has seen that Ocon is going around the outside. That's when you don't turn into turn 2 the way he did. Because, okay, he may have assumed that Ocon wouldn't, but what's assumptions make an ass out of you and me, as a lot of people say.
But then in Hungary, Vettel, when Bottas did that stupid move up the inside of Vettel and Vettel chopped him off, we were all defending Vettel because we were like, well, why would Bottas come back at him? Because Vettel obviously wasn't going to think that Bottas was going to outbrake him, and it's exactly the same as Ocon, where you go, why is a guy that's 2 laps down, not even alongside, like if Ocon wanted to go for that move, which he is legal.
What is going on outside? Carry on.
The Samba. Going
We are.
If he goes for that move, like...
Don't worry, I can't hear it.
It's fine. Carry on.
Okay. Yeah, he's going for that move. He needs to be 100%... Like, he needs to be breezing past him, DRS on the straight, and way ahead into the corner, but he's not outbraked him, and he's not ahead on the straight. He's lunging round the outside and then lunging into a corner when he's not got the move. And Charlie Whiting, I feel, is right when he said that Ocon is, you know, even if that move was on the lead of 4 position, he still would have got a penalty.
Which I don't agree with personally. If that was a race for the, like, he was more than alongside coming into that turn 2. So for me, I don't think that would have. If we're looking at the rules, okay, it's a lunge, but his car, for audio listeners, was almost side by side. It wasn't halfway alongside. So for me, if that's a battle for the lead, I don't think that would be a.
What do you think,
penalty.
Jess?
Jess, please chime in.
It's an interesting one. So from my understanding, Ocon was told by the team to unlap himself.
Yeah.
So in that instance, you know, that he went for it. I agree with Tommy in the sense that he didn't get the move. In order to complete that move, he didn't get it done early enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I also agree with you in that it was just a silly move to do in the first. Sorry, I agree with you. It was a silly move to do in the first place. But I also agree that Max, as the race leader, had the right to that line and didn't need to give it up. He shouldn't have given up the line, and Ocon shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, even though like the closing speed was insane, to be honest, that video really did change my mind, because when I first watched it, I was 100% Ocon, you absolute tit.
Yeah.
But having watched that and having like listened to what was being fed back to Ocon, what was being kind of said, and then analysing Max's moves as well, I for me, it's almost a racing incident.
The only thing that video changed my opinion was that it showed that Ocon, the Force India, is so much quicker in DRS and had a tyre advantage because he got a good run out that corner.
Yeah.
For me, all it showed that Ocon should have just waited till the next corner,
but equally,
and then he'd have breezed past him.
Equally, and I think this was a good point that was made in the cool down room, was Lewis says to Max, "You had more to lose than Ocon." So in theory, Max could have just gone, "Do you know what? Whatever. We're not racing. I'll move. If you're gonna go for this, mate, I'm getting out of your way," because it wouldn't matter. Like, if Ocon had unlapped himself, he's not racing Max, and Max shouldn't have been racing Ocon. The fact that he did, the fact that he made that choice to, regardless of whether I still stand, like, I don't think that was a smart move from Ocon. It wasn't a smart move, but equally, I think it was rightly said that Max had that entire race to lose, and he lost it to somebody who was running in P16 at the time.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, on what planet? Like, so that's why I can't associate absolute blame to either driver.
No.
I think both drivers made poor decisions in the heat of the moment.
It's an awkward corner as well because
Yeah.
realistically, Verstappen, you say, oh, he should have let him through, but he's going into a corner where Ocon hasn't really got ahead of him at any point, fully ahead.
Yeah. Well,
Do you know what I mean?
he was.
It was DRS, and he was gonna get him out of turn 3 and down that straight anyway, which he could have just waited for. And when they're going side by side into that corner, they're side by side, and Verstappen, of course, like you were saying, is going to take his line, but equally, it's not easy to back out of that because he's the race leader, and he's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to lose like 3 seconds to Hamilton by turning left into a right-hander,
Maybe not, but
going
there have
onto
been,
the marbles.
But equally, there have been incidences where other race leaders have made the decision to back out of a move in order to retain the long-term win.
Yeah.
So they might have lost time, but I mean, Max was absolutely flying,
Oh, he
and
had it in the
Lewis
bag.
was struggling for pretty much that entire race, and he'd have been getting fed that back on radio. He'd have been like, all you could hear over radio was Lewis going, I need info, I need lap deltas, I need, like, these tyres are going, guys, like, what do we do?
And
like,
Max would have seen it in his mirrors as well.
Exactly.
Like Hamilton wasn't there; he was 4 or 5 seconds down
He
the
was
road.
not.
And I guess that's for me. Like, and I'm just to reiterate for people that maybe hear that all I'm saying is Max is at fault. It's not. Like, Esteban was very much stupid for doing the move that he did. But at the same time, the thing that gets me after watching that on board was that Max went defensive. You put Hamilton, for fear of sounding like a Hamilton fanboy, you put Hamilton in that situation.
He's
he
getting
stays
out
on
of
the
the way.
racing line and he'll just let Esteban go up the inside.
Yeah.
But he goes defensive. Obviously, Max is thinking, well, I can't let this Force India get in front of me. What if his pace drops off and whatever?
Yeah.
But then that's blue flags. That, he'll be blue flagged again. So for me, he's got the better tyres than Hamilton. The only way he loses that race is by hitting Ocon.
And
That's
he
the
did.
only way.
And the really frustrating thing is he'd had a beautiful race
Yeah,
until
he'd had
that
a
point.
stunning race.
That overtake on, was it Seb?
Vettel, yeah, it was
Oh
incredible.
my God. I almost stood up and applauded.
What, into turn 1? That was ridiculous.
It was the most
Yeah.
delicious thing I've seen. Honestly, it was so good. And I was like, world champion next year. When I
Yeah.
saw that,
Yeah.
and he was driving such a mature drive, like every move was calculated and perfect and just like stellar, and he was managing his tyres, and it was just like, this guy is making everybody else, and considering
Even Hamilton in the last
considering-
few races,
he
he's
had
probably been better than
had a
Hamilton.
horrible race.
Yeah.
For the past 2 races, he's
Yeah.
had a horrible race, and yet this one he came out and won. But that was a complete and utter fluke. But it's just stuff like that, and I
It's
think
tainted it,
it's
another
tainted
epic drive. But we were saying that was Max Verstappen in one race, taking a car from absolutely that shouldn't be winning that race, passing everyone, driving like an absolute god, being, regardless of whose fault it was unlucky that he got into that situation, whether you
Yeah.
thought it was his fault or Ocon's fault.
Yeah.
It was unlucky
Yeah.
that happened to him, because not many times a backmarker is trying to pass the leader,
Which
we can say Hamilton would have let, but it's never happened. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
I was just going to say, which brings us kind of nicely. We'll go on to what drivers have said in a second, but how like their past may have actually had an impact in that as well. The fact that Ocon and Verstappen very much had a rivalry in previous
Yeah.
formulas. Ocon won the Formula 3 title, but Verstappen then went on to be an F1 driver, and obviously next year Ocon doesn't have a seat, so maybe there's an element of jealousy from Ocon.
He had a point to
he
prove.
wanted to stick one to Verstappen, even if he's on fresher tyres, and just to get on the replays, and
But
that's
I
probably
think-
all he wanted.
I think the biggest thing, and I think the reason why most people have an issue with it, and it's still the main issue why maybe I would assign 55% of the blame to Ocon, maybe a little bit more, probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman's agreement that a backmarker doesn't race the leader.
That's the thing.
That's the gentleman. It's not a rule,
Yeah, the gentleman's
but
agreement.
it's a
which
gentleman's
is-
agreement that you don't race the
It
race
has
leader.
happened before, and like you say, realistically, you need to make 110% more, way more than any other move, that you're going to make that move stick, because
Yeah.
you will look like an absolute clown if you screw it up.
That's the thing. It's an unspoken rule, which is what people are sort of arguing about. Is that Ocon shouldn't have gone for it when in reality he has absolutely the entire right to do whatever he wants in terms of overtaking. There's no rule that says you have to give the leader 2 car lengths more space or anything like that. It is a gentleman's agreement, and it's something that obviously a lot of people are latching onto and saying, yeah, but he shouldn't race the leader. There's nothing to say he doesn't have to. That he's racing for himself, not for
But
Max.
as Tommy says, if you cock it up,
oh my god, literally
the
timing,
like
the timing for this as well in Ocon's career.
And I mean, like the thing that got me was like Guido was throwing up the time that didn't he hit Webber?
He hit Webber, yeah.
Because Webber was very angry about it, wasn't he?
He was very angry, and he like Webber. In fact, was like, sorry, is Webber on your list?
I've got that quote.
Okay.
I've got that quote.
Well, I don't know the quote, so
Yeah.
I'll leave that one for you.
Oh, thank
Matty.
you.
But he was showing gifs of like, and again, this is kind of jumping ahead of the gun. Sorry, but
That's all right.
like that he was Webber was sharing gifs of him like shoving button, after like their like little fracas and on track. And like getting super heated. So what was the quote that we've got down there?
So
for him?
we'll go with the negative ones first. So Mark Webber said, "Mental that a backmarker P16 nails the leader of the race at that level. Total brain fade," and then an explosion brain emoji. Casey Stoner said, "What was Esteban Ocon thinking? That may be the most thoughtless move I have seen in racing. Doesn't matter if he was unlapping himself. You don't impede the race leader."
Yeah.
Which again comes into the whole unspoken
That
rule.
gentleman's agreement.
But then on the other side, obviously Hamilton was the big person that was saying, you know what, I don't see that much wrong with what Ocon did. He said he can unlap himself. I think this was in the cool down room. He had nothing to lose. And then after being questioned about what Hamilton would do, he said, "You know what I'd have done. You've got to make sure there's room." So
it's quite easy for him to say that. There,
it's
when
easy
he's
to
won
say,
the
but
race.
then when's Hamilton make mistakes like that?
And I think there has been evidence, like even where were we? Was it Mexico? Yeah, there was an incident. I forget who it was, which is really annoying. But there was an incident where he backed out of a move that he probably could have got done, but he went, "It's not worth it, because if I crash, I don't win the championship." And I think that is the only thing currently that's missing. Well, maybe a number of things, but that's one of the major things that's missing from Max in terms of being.
Well, yeah, he is a hot-headed personality.
Yeah.
You can't say that he isn't. Obviously, after seeing the.
I've got some interesting points, but I'll leave it till the next discussion point.
Well, okay, let's move on to.
Who was for? Do you have drivers there being positive about the move?
there wasn't many that came
No.
out, especially because as you said, when you watched it, everyone was on the Ocon hate train. And the amount of messages.
That was from
Felix
Felix da
Costa.
Costa, who was. That's my opinion of it.
That's not pace, that's DRS. So that was about the fact that Ocon was quicker,
Yeah.
which I think he probably was if he'd got that close. But anyway, that's not pace, that's DRS. I can see Esteban's point of view. He has raced Max in the past and wants to prove a point. On the other hand, that looks like a move for the race lead. Way too far back, lunges around the outside, being a lap down. You can't race the leader like that.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's a lunge is the
Key.
the real key thing, I think, personally.
Yeah, and again, I agree that Ocon was stupid to try the move. So I think we're in agreement with that. It's just my problem is how Max dealt with what was in front of him. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Glad there was no clause coming out. So Jess, moving on to your 3-word race review.
Yeah, hot-headed Max.
And this was the scuffle.
So
afterwards.
this is kind of like obviously leading on from it, and I think, having. At that point, when the race was over, I think everybody was in agreement that race was stolen from Max. And everybody felt sympathetic for him. Everyone was blaming Ocon, because up until that point we hadn't seen all the footage. I still think people are probably going to assign most blame to Ocon for that move. And then he goes ahead, and you can hear him. I mean, we have heard him make very threatening comments on the radio before. And not even just on the radio, in press conferences, when he's been spoken to like hours after. So for instance, in Mexico, he was like threatening to punch, or said he could have punched somebody, and then we get to him losing a race. Not just pole position, but the race, and he gets out the car and on the radio he goes, "Ocon better not be in the paddock, because something's going to happen." And lo and behold, this is literally he's jumped straight out the car, taken his helmet off, put his hat on, gone to
seen him at the
FIA weigh-in, and gone for him.
Yeah.
And okay, from what I've seen, no punches were actually thrown. And from what Max has said,
He got triggered by something.
Ocon said
Ocon
something
said
to him.
something to trigger him.
So stupid of Ocon, but I guess when someone's coming at you.
I reckon he probably said something along the lines of "You didn't leave me racing room" or something.
I feel
That's
like he
the
might
thing.
have
Like,
said
what
something.
did?
You never.
Because
We never know.
in Max's brain, I think if Ocon had said anything other than sorry, he was going to get punched.
We need Brendan Hartley to say, because he's the one that
he was
turns
there,
around and
and
goes,
Bottas was there as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe we
Bottas just stood there. That was the funniest thing I think about that video, was the fact that no one reacted.
No.
It was like when you see like someone having a fight and you're like, kind of want to watch this.
Yeah,
in a horrible way. You're like, kind of like, I should break it up, but also
I mean,
it wasn't
really a.
It wasn't a fight.
Scrap, was
No,
it? I think
that's
if the
the thing.
punch was thrown, Bottas would have come in and sorted them out.
There was some good. I think if it had got to real fisticuffs, people would have jumped in.
Yeah,
One thing I would say is that while Esteban definitely shouldn't have gone in again when Max was walking away, because it's the kind of thing where Max is clearly like, if you saw someone being threatening to you, you wouldn't then go back to them and try and have a conversation. It was clear that he needed to be like calmed down, basically.
And it's one of those things, isn't it? When you think you finished an argument and then somebody mumbles something under their breath afterwards, and that makes you more mad than you were at the start.
I think that also shows how much rivalry there is between the two from the lower formulas. Like the fact Esteban didn't want to say sorry, he in fact wanted to say his opinion and then come back at him as well, which then sort of further backs up the claim of the whole he wants to stick it to Max. So he probably is in deep down being like, I don't really care that much. Like, it's just it's an interesting
what
one.
was your thoughts on the whole? It's like some people were like Verstappen should be banned for pushing him and stuff, and then other people were like, oh well, Senna punched blah blah blah.
I
and
hate that.
I
hate that.
I hate those
using
a different era.
Not even a different era.
Yeah.
Trying to say that it's okay to hit somebody or to attack somebody just because a legend did it way back when.
It's ridiculous.
Off, in my opinion.
I think the thing is that they were saying that Senna was not applauded for it, but it's very much a bit in the Senna movie where everyone's like, oh, isn't he so passionate and all that kind of stuff, which I think is bollocks,
just,
basically.
Like, there's other ways to be passionate and being physical. Like F1 is not a physical sport, right? No. I've seen a few arguments like, oh, have you never seen people like rugby players, like they have proper punch up and stuff.
Wow, so you've got Twitter voice and this is like rugby voice.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be
I think it is because it happens in quite a few sports because they're face-to-face
contact,
whereas you never see it
sport.
In motorsport. And it is almost surprising that you don't see it in motorsport, because we always say, think how obviously Max is on another level compared to other drivers, but everyone
Fanboy. Oh no,
I meant like anger and aggression.
That's fine, I'm joking.
I think it's in his genes.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone has their moments in the cool-down room where, Rosberg like threw the cat earlier this season. Hamilton said the whole dickhead thing, and that caused a bit of controversy. And for me personally, I think that Red Bull need to take some responsibility for Verstappen.
Not dealing with him.
So,
100%.
One of the things I was thinking was that, because for me, what I didn't like was that Christian Horner said he's lucky that
he didn't get punched.
Yeah. And me and Dan, our editor, were having a chat about how it's obviously not surprising that a team supports their driver, but when does it become too far? So the thing we were saying was Max is becoming almost like a parent not telling off their kid, if you like.
Yeah.
And obviously the more they do it, the more they're naughty and they don't have discipline. And Red Bull have, if Max goes to push someone and his Red Bull team are saying, oh, you should have smacked him, and Helmut Marko's saying, yeah, you were right there, like you lost the race and all this kind of stuff, he's going to do it again.
Yeah.
And an interesting point that I thought is Vettel went through the same thing himself, where he crashed into Webber and the team blamed Webber, and Vettel was the golden Red Bull child. And without screwing Vettel fans here, but look at the year he's had with his meltdowns, and he's meant to be the mature four-time world champion driver. Maybe part of his upbringing from Red Bull has made him the way he is, where he's hot-headed. Look at what happened at the weighbridge. You know, he has a lot of hot-headed moments for someone that's 30,
30,
however,
30.
31.
30 or 31, something
yeah.
like that, and has been in Formula 1 for a very long time. I think Red Bull need to take a bit of responsibility.
I totally agree. Like, I think having heard what he said on the radio, there should have been somebody there to handle him.
Yeah.
Because, like we've said before, the adrenaline and the emotions that you must go through having lost a race like that.
Absolutely no.
You need to be held back. You need somebody to go, I know you're angry,
To just come
but
this
this
way.
is not
the
the
second
time.
Max said that radio message,
Yeah,
Christian
they should have
Horner
someone
done
should,
that.
as a team principal, should have come on the radio and said,
100%.
Max, look, I know you're angry. If you don't do anything, everyone will say that race win was robbed from you. Everyone will think you're an absolute legend because you should have won that race. You drove an amazing drive. You're driver of the day. Instead, people are now. It's changed his reputation.
There's more respect and dignity. As crappy as it sounds, so many more people would have respected that drive had he have just walked away.
I mean, it's great for the memes, but
I mean, it was interesting to see, but I think the FIA were completely right in how they handled it.
They were right. They actually said in their statement, while sympathetic to Verstappen's passion, the stewards determined that it is the obligation of sportsmen at this level to act appropriately and as role models to other drivers at all levels, and found that Verstappen failed in this respect.
Yeah.
And he has to do 2 days of community service, whatever that means.
Yeah, I love that.
All
I've just got an
I imagine
idea.
is like an orange bib at the side of a road, you know.
So when Vettel had the same for his Baku moment, he had to do.
What did he do?
He appeared on video link to a road safety course or something.
Didn't somebody else have to do that as well?
Yeah.
They usually, because they've got the big road safety campaign. I think he's just probably gonna have to do a little bit more.
Rosberg's in one of them, isn't he? Maybe that was like.
And Alonso. Alonso was in it too.
Yeah.
But no, I think those guys did it out of choice, or maybe
monies.
Moolah.
But
Tommy, your wife. How do I mute?
Tommy, we've
How do I
spoken
mute your
about
wife?
messages from your wife at work.
And quit. Carry on.
Quit WhatsApp. My bad.
Yeah, I think. But there was an interesting comment.
Hello, Tommy's wife.
Again, I forget who said it. But they were talking about how it was Lewis Hamilton actually. He spoke about how F1 is probably one of the biggest team sports in the world. There are thousands of people.
Yeah.
Or how many? 1,800 people
Yeah,
I think Mercedes has. That go into putting that F1 car on for 21 races a year, and only one person or two people drive the cars. They said even though it's a massive team sport, as a driver you're completely alone. You feel completely alone. All the attention is usually on you.
Unless you're Bottas.
You have nobody else.
Just in fifth place going round.
I thought I was the Bottas roaster.
No, I hate him now. I don't hate him.
You have and apart from your other driver, who is also your rival, nobody understands what goes through your head when you're doing a race or doing a race weekend. And Lewis was saying about how lonely that makes you feel. And I think when you're somebody like Max Verstappen, who not only are you on your own, but you're also have a lot of pressure on yourself. He has had insane levels of pressure from him since the word go. He was the youngest ever F1 driver up until Stroll came along, and he had a lot to prove.
I mean,
he had a father.
When Hamilton joined, people thought Anthony Hamilton was pushy parent, and Yacht has taken that to another level in terms of he had that race, didn't he, where his family stopped going just so he could have a little bit of a head check.
Exactly.
So much pressure on them.
Whilst I cannot and won't condone Max's behaviour post-race, I don't think we can completely blame him for.
No, we can't blame him. They didn't. As you mentioned, Red Bull didn't manage it at all well. They just didn't care, if anything. But at Squeas actually said, asked the question: is the drivers showing their emotion a good or bad thing? And I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing for the sport.
Thing, yeah.
I think stuff like, well, it was sad to see, but like Ricardo when he was completely gone after Mexico, where he was like, well, maybe Gasly can drive my car and stuff like that. Sort of stuff is great because it adds to the whole story of Formula One.
Yeah,
but
it's
when the
stuff,
it's when the physical, like I love it when drivers rant and lose the plot, but then it just becomes another sort of level when fists start coming out and stuff, which I don't agree with.
We don't want it
cool.
to become like NASCAR, where they actively encourage it and start filming it on YouTube.
It's just a farce.
They do.
Yeah.
What you want it to become like NASCAR?
Not entirely like that.
You don't even watch Formula
Ali.
One, so I mean,
Just go watch boxing. Like, if you want to see people beat each other up, go watch the boxing. Like, that's not what I've come to see.
Yeah.
It makes me feel uncomfortable a little bit watching it. I'm like,
it's just sad. It's just like the fact that you think physical violence is the way that you sort your problems out.
I think Max and Esteban was probably the limit for like the sorts of passion that I'd want to see. Like, I mean, that was again even a little bit over the limit, the pushing and stuff. But I want them, getting up in each other's faces. That's cool to watch when they're like, oh yeah, and it's having an argument.
Yeah.
Fine, but I think that's the limit for me. Right, Tommy. Before we continue on with Max Verstappen, give me your 3-word race review so we can cover some other areas that isn't Max Verstappen.
Yeah,
I know.
Mine is FIA weighbridge madness.
I guess it's tied into it.
Yeah, and it's just hilarious that this really normally quiet, insignificant place has just been the absolute kind of mayhem land of the Brazilian Grand Prix, where not only you had the Verstappen and Ocon shovegate.
The FIA guy was losing the plot.
Yeah.
He was like, get away from the scales.
Yeah.
We just had to buy new ones.
We've just fixed the scales, and that's referring to obviously in qualifying, where Vettel broke the scales when he had to go on the weighbridge.
So a lot of people don't understand why he had to go on the weighbridge. So do you want to explain why that happened?
So, cars get randomly checked. Randomly. For all the people that thought it was unfair.
That was random. So.
Yeah. Because I saw a great point, I think it was from Chamber, that said, shout out to Chamber, who said, what would have been unfair is if they went, oh, Sebastian Vettel, your title... you've got a chance of winning this race and all that kind of stuff. We won't weigh you.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
bias.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
So he randomly got chosen, which, yes, it was an unfortunate time, but Ferrari chose to change their tyres. Risky when the rain was coming and qualifying. Changed their tyres. Kimi changed his tyres. Vettel came in to change his tyres and got brought to the weighbridge. So,
and this is where the car has to be at
a certain weighed.
weight.
You have to turn the engine off. It takes a bit of time. It's happened before where drivers, I'm sure it's happened this year, I'm sure Ricardo has had a moment where you unfortunately get weighed when you're maybe in the drop, you're in the drop zone and it's like it's a race against time now, but it happens, it's a lottery.
Yeah.
Otherwise everyone would run their cars underweight.
Yeah, exactly. It's a part of the game which isn't really televised so much.
No, or explained.
No.
Yeah.
But they have to be at a certain weight limit. I don't know what that weight is. What do you know what the weight is? Because it's obviously a combination of the driver and the car. But
I can't remember exactly.
But yeah, so that's just to check that they are.
But what happened with Vettel was, and again, bit of a needless, petty sort of meltdown where he knocks over a cone. He's there waving his arms about, saying, "Come on, hurry up! Get this done." Doesn't turn the engine off. Almost runs over. I know that's an exaggeration.
No, he nearly goes over that guy's foot. To be fair,
the guy's he's like, "Get out of the way," and he's
holding a brakes on sign.
Yeah, that
your brakes clearly aren't.
Yeah. But also, I love the fact that F1 is multi-million-pound sport, and someone's got brakes on written in a piece of word art written on it, and it's like, put your brakes on. Anyway, so yeah, he goes in there, and if you watch, a fan took a video of it. He spins his rear tyres up, and the two scales go flying back.
Oh, do they?
The guy stood behind was so lucky to not get a face full of scale.
Really?
They shot out. I mean, you can understand. You could understand when a F1 car is spinning its wheels, the velocity of which that scale was coming out was it wasn't it didn't fly off the ground, but it if that guy had still been stood behind the car, he'd have had a nasty
Decapitated.
It was off the
injury.
scale.
Well, I think his feet might have been cut off.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Yeah, so Vettel was actually fined and received a reprimand.
A
For
hefty
this.
fine as well.
€25,000. I'm sure that won't break the bank for him.
He should have been
Someone was
disqualified.
asking, like, oh, does he pay that? Because there's certain wording where, is that him to pay rather than Ferrari?
Yeah, you think it would be,
Or do you think
but
that's in his contract where Ferrari would just cover it?
it did make me laugh though that 25 grand for the team that gets 50 million pounds for being Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's like, that's literally like,
Oh,
I'll just write you a check now.
yeah.
I think the driver does get fined personally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like you say, he
But it
might
might
have
be in the
something in his
contract, so it's
contract.
like,
but-
I was,
paying for that.
I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised he wasn't disqualified.
But I think that
I think he should have been.
What I
but-
found,
Really?
what I found
Whoa.
strange was that they originally said that they didn't get a reading for his weight, and that
Mhm.
was the whole investigation. But then they came out and said that
ca-
they did get a weight.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the whole point, is that whether if they hadn't got a weight, then I'm assuming that's where the disqualification.
Yeah,
would have
I
come
think initially when I saw it, I was like, he's going to be disqualified for that because, yeah, I assumed that they hadn't got the weight because Carlos Sainz had the same a couple of years ago. He missed the weighbridge and he got disqualified and he got sent to the back of the
in.
grid.
Yeah,
So I think everyone thought he was going to be disqualified.
Mm.
But even still, it was still questionable what he did to, you know.
yeah, it definitely deserved at least
Yeah.
a fine, which is what he got. And what I found, the worst was that the guy was saying brakes on, and he was like just driving, and the guy was like Jesus, and then and then obviously the guy beckoned him on and beckoned him off, but.
I mean, you could argue.
just lost it.
You could argue that if Max has to go do community service for being a bad role model, and the four-time world champion's almost running people over and
Yeah.
spinning his wheels
That's
and
the
flinging the
thing.
scales
Brings
out,
up
it's like
Stewart's and consistency again,
the
doesn't it?
people, the young kids that are trying to learn to go kart and stuff are watching him, and he's meant to be the.
Yeah, seeing sort of Vettel's psychology and sort of mental state over the last few races,
It's
like
not
if,
been good.
if Ferrari and Mercedes are a bang level again next year, I don't see him having a chance again because he just doesn't seem to be in the right mind frame.
Why? Because of Sharrrrrl.
Oh well, no, I was actually Mercedes versus Ferrari, but Sharrrrl will wipe the floor with him now. I think, especially
Yeah,
with this
could
kind
do.
of like.
I
Well,
mean-
I don't know. It's very difficult to say. It's all speculation.
My
but
worry with Charles
seventh
that-
best of the rest. Sorry, carry on.
that he might be too much of a nice guy to.
Oh no, he wants to
challenge.
win. He wants to win.
I think so.
He's got a-
but do you
he's
not,
got a bad
do you
side
not
to him.
think you,
He's
you
going to
reckon?
punch him. No, he's not.
What are you saying? Only
You think
bad
he'll?
guys can finish first?
I'm saying that if next year
You say Max is a bad guy?
Leclerc wins a race or whatever, and then Ferrari say to him, "Look, Vettel needs to win. Tone it down." He'd probably be like, "Okay, I'll
No,
wait.
'cause
I'll
I
wait for
think
my year to be the
Ferrari,
number one
I think
driver."
Ferrari
Ferrari are
looking
looking
for another
number
successor.
one
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah.
I think they are. I genuinely think that Vettel's not good enough. He
I think
hasn't,
that
they
was the
haven't,
whole-
he hasn't given them a championship
That
yet.
was the whole reason he's been given the seat for next year, because they weren't going
Otherwise,
to
they'd
go.
have kept Kimi, right?
Yeah, and they weren't. What have they got to gain from having another year of Kimi? I love Kimi,
Same.
but he is just. I mean, actually, we were looking through the stats, and Kimi's had more
More
podiums,
podiums than Vettel. Yeah.
which is
And
insane.
what amazed me when you were looking at the championship standings is to say that, and I will admit I did do this, slate Kimi for not winning races
Yeah.
and not even coming close to winning races while that was challenging for a title. Kimi's only 2 race wins behind him now,
Less
which
than, yeah.
He's
that's,
Mr. Consistency.
that's still.
if
I know it's
nothing
50
else.
points, but it's still for it to be that close.
And Kimi's had 3 DNFs to Vettel's 1. So again, that's another, well, not potential
Yeah.
50 points because Kimi's only won 1 race, but
Well, we were saying a
2
lot of the
podiums.
times when, I mean, I guess this is kind of like, duh, but a lot of times when Kimi's been on the podium, Seb's been in like P5.
yeah.
Mm.
Like, not even, like, well, 5 is over there,
Just
but
think
not close.
what Kimi would have done if they'd have brought him into the pits and.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, and not being the
about him during the
sacrificial,
exactly.
just being a sacrificial lamb at
Exactly.
50 laps on super softs.
But I think the nice thing is, like, not that I ever think Kimi's not enjoyed racing, because obviously that is the reason why he's still there, and
Yeah.
you can tell he just genuinely just wants to drive.
Mhm.
He's,
But the past few races,
he's been revitalised since
he's
that
been
win.
like,
yeah.
I'm like, who is Kimi Räikkönen? Like,
Yeah.
what have you done with
When
him?
he was defending from Hamilton in America, like Vettel wingmanned out the way
yeah.
for Kimi. That was quite
But
a
also,
moment.
like, getting out the
I couldn't
car,
believe that. That was
getting out the car,
Great.
smiling.
that's 2 times in 3 races as well, isn't it?
yeah,
That he's let him
like,
through.
get out of the way, Vettel. Kimi's
Kimi's
faster,
number one.
like-
Seb's going to Sauber next year now.
I mean,
You heard it first.
Wow.
I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, he's a. I don't know. Maybe he just feels like the pressure's off a little bit because
Yeah.
he's going to Sauber. He's probably not gonna.
Well, Kimi looks a lot happier now.
Yeah.
Just in general. doesn't
Kimi
he?
Yeah.
has no pressure. Maybe that's it. It shows the pressure because Vettel clearly is under
Huge
unbelievable
pressure.
amounts of pressure, and I keep hearing these stories that he goes back to Red Bull all the time to speak to Christian Horner and Newey because it's like his family
Home. Yeah.
that he feels happier when he's talking to them, and he goes to talk to Helmut
Wow.
Marko about him like his
Vettel
races
go
and
back.
stuff.
Yeah, I
Ooh.
wonder if he just doesn't have like a connection with the Ferrari team.
I think he probably is trying so hard to emulate Schumacher, and it's been his dream forever to win a title with Ferrari. Maybe he's overthinking and overdriving and all that kind of stuff.
And he might not just be a fit, as you say, with Ferrari. Like his personality is very much one that's fun. He loves to have a joke, doesn't he? And then Ferrari, and I don't know. I just don't know if his personality really
Maybe.
fits in with the team as well. And I don't know.
Could be.
It's I think it's a combination of many factors.
There's so many
but
politics in Formula One that it's not just about a fast driver, is it?
No. Right. We need to move on. Hamilton versus Sirotkin incident wasn't even investigated. It's something we need to talk about quickly.
That
Mm.
is, I mean,
I can
yes.
understand.
Controversial.
I don't really know why it wasn't investigated, but I don't think it should have been a penalty because they're both on outlaps. So
But then he also had a moment with Kimi where it was kind of like,
that was
That wasn't so bad. The Sirotkin one, like that could have been.
It could have been-
nasty. Again, like the rule, the unwritten rule is if you're going slowly, you don't move position.
no.
You stick where you are and
Hamilton
let the faster
absolutely
car.
crapped his pants.
Do you
Oh, yeah.
remember?
It's like, oh my
Where
god!
are you going?
Was it the two Torossos in Baku when
Yes.
they almost
They
had
nearly-
a plane
oh
crash?
my
Because that was the
Yes.
same
God,
thing where
that
Hartley
crash
was
would
sort
have
of
been
dawdling a
horrific.
bit. He was sort of
Shock, Hartley
yeah, he was
dawdling.
going really slow, and
That was
turned
scary.
a little bit, and that could he would have been in.
Gone into the buildings.
Yeah, he would have been in.
Got into the
yeah.
castle.
Yeah, you actually would have. That would have been scary. But yeah, so I guess
I think it should have been
it's-
investigated.
yeah.
At the very least.
It definitely fuels the kind of like it's a load of bollocks. It's the same people that think that Ocon crashed on purpose, but there's this whole
Tinfoil.
thing that like the FIA want Hamilton to win and Mercedes to win, which is total nonsense.
absolute rubbish.
But at the same time, the stuff like that
Doesn't
it
help.
doesn't help that it's not even being
put it
investigated.
Under, just put it under
like,
investigation. Like Sirotkin literally went off the track,
You
so
don't, you don't
Yeah.
even have to actually investigate
no,
it.
just
Just
under-
put the
just
little.
put the graphic
just
up.
Put the graphic up.
yeah,
it's fine. I wonder how many times they've done that. I wonder how many times they've done that in the
Well,
in
no,
the
'cause they have to
history.
send out paperwork, and it's a
Yeah,
big old
just send out the
job.
default one. Yeah, we looked at it and yeah, nothing happened. Cool. Driver of the day.
Oof. See,
the driver of the day of Verstappen in terms of the actual
Oh,
drive.
Give me a.
How
I'm
is it
joking,
not?
I'm joking. Yeah, no, that's true.
I did love. It was really funny though when the driver of the day graphic came up and he was like popping veins. Like the picture of him is like smiley in the corner of his graphic,
Yeah.
and then he was like
couldn't have been
ready
further.
to like pop. It was quite.
I
Funny.
don't, because I think I would have said Max
Would have
all
said
over.
Max, but
I can't. His reaction, I can't.
but
I
can
just
that be put
can't.
under driver of the day?
Yeah.
Well, because what we've always said is that it's not just about what happens on track; it's about what happens off track or how you handle things.
But for driver of the day,
But
doesn't matter.
No, because that was a. No, I just don't
Okay,
think.
who'd
but
you give it to
I
then?
don't know. I
not-
So if
genuinely
Hamilton
don't know.
had a really good driver and then pushed an old lady down the stairs, would he lose driver of the day?
Yes,
Okay. Just wanted to know.
because Hamilton definitely wasn't driver of the day yesterday.
No, Bottas was.
Van Dorn. I mean, look at Van Dorn
mean,
go. He was fighting for his
he
life,
had a
even though he's
good
lost his seat
race.
and he's going to Formula E. But
Who had a good race?
he did. He was.
Mm.
I mean, he gave one to Alonso and then finished
Alonso's
14th.
given up there, hasn't he?
Alonso
He's
literally
already in Indy
didn't go past
500
fourth
mode.
gear, I think so.
Yeah, what a weird time to announce that. We were chatting about that, weren't we?
Yeah.
We've finished. We've qualified P20 and P18. Oh, IndyCar!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't look at this. Look
Yeah.
at this.
Distraction, Men in Black, like.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of just stopped talking about them now, haven't they? Like McLaren's just fading into
I
nothing.
was really
It's
like
so weird.
Alonso was so chirpy, and it was like P18, and he was kind of like, I don't care. Like I'm going to finish last in Abu Dhabi. Doesn't matter.
I
That's
mean,
it.
Really,
it's a
yeah.
Which
shame.
is sad, really.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
Fernando Alonso's last race, and everyone's kind of just not really just it's his last race kind of thing.
Oh, it's one of the
almost just
best drivers of
remembering.
all time.
I mean,
Like,
do you
this
remember?
is sad.
Again, I think we harked back to it a few podcasts ago, but Massa's send off was huge both times.
Yeah.
And for Alonso, I just feel like nothing.
Just go sit on that deck chair, mate. All right,
happened.
cool.
maybe. Well, I guess they're saving it for Abu Dhabi, whereas Massa they did it
For
in
his home
Brazil a
Grand Prix,
race
yeah.
early, so it kind of.
But I even feel like every time they were like, this is Massa's last.
This is Massa's
Ameri-
third to last
yeah,
race.
Yeah, like I did feel like there was more of that.
Yeah, it's true, and Jensen actually as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Everyone was like,
I don't think maybe it's because he's already announced he's driving somewhere else, or maybe it's because he didn't announce he was retiring, even though he is retiring from Formula One and everyone knows it.
Or maybe it's just because he's a sour person. No one really gives a shit.
Whoa!
Right, and on that note, we're going to go to our predictions for Brazil. Okay, so Jess, you said Hamilton won't win. Well, that's awkward. Oh, okay. He did.
No.
There's
points.
no half a point
There's
to
no
Hamilton
points.
won't win.
Well,
I
to
used
be
the
honest, he
phrase
shouldn't-
Hamilton and win.
He shouldn't have won. That prediction was stolen from me by Max.
Right, okay, so you're bitter about...
I'm bitter.
Yeah, okay. And there will be a deck chair tribute to Alonso, which is correct.
That was
There
my
was.
prediction, actually, that gave me.
But,
I
Still
claimed that
Jess's.
I said to everybody it wasn't my prediction.
I know.
Calm down, all right?
yeah, but...
No, just
Jess,
saying.
put it down.
I'm just
Alright,
saying.
you gonna get your fists out? You gonna start pushing
I'm
people?
going to start pushing Jess, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's
you.
1 point. Okay,
Jess, that's never the answer.
I'm sending to the stewards. Okay, right. Alistair's the stewards.
You won't win drivers
Alistair,
of the day
what's your
with an
verdict?
attitude like that.
Let's hurry up and finish this podcast.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Ali. Jason said both Alonso and Ricciardo will retire. No. And Magnussen will whinge about Alonso again. No, they were nowhere near each other on the track. I said Nico Hulkenberg will finally get a podium. That was a good one.
Incorrect.
He DNF'd. And Van Dorn will outqualify Alonso. God damn it, he didn't.
Your predictions were terrible.
No one's got. Oh, actually,
I go away for one podcast and you don't get a
cry
single
me a
one.
river.
let's get rid of him for the
Van
next
Dorn
one.
Van Dorn will outqualify Alonso, but he beat him in the race. Okay, all right, cool, fine, no worries. Fan
We're not
predictions.
doing that anymore.
God,
Sorry,
you
go
are
on.
bitter about not being on Mexico, aren't you? Jesus, get over it. Bring back Jason. Let's get the hashtag trending. Fan predictions.
Don't you
Lewis
dare.
will hit the wall in quali. Nope.
Nope.
Bottas refuses to pass Lewis without a fight. He was nowhere near him. Max will pull another move like on Rosberg a while ago in the rain. No.
Useless.
Good.
Absolutely
Good
useless.
predictions, everyone.
So the only one we got right was the Alonso one.
Yeah. Which is yours, not Tommy's. Yours. Good,
So
good
I
prediction,
win.
Jess. Now predictions
Well
for
done,
Abu
Jess.
Dhabi, Jess. Bottas.
Bottas will be given the win. Finally. And then.
I'm just imagining the scenario of Hamilton being 20 seconds down the road and then just slowing to a halt and being like, "Oh, Bottas, you have this one."
I think
I think just wait-
he'll
wait.
throw it in quali.
Yeah.
He'll get P2 in quali. And give Bottas P1, and then he'll literally just follow him.
I don't think Hamilton will give him shit personally, but
Do you know? I think he wants to absolve Sochi.
we're the best teammates ever, aren't we?
I think that would make it
Shut
worse.
up about that.
Best partnerships ever.
Yeah, the only reason is because
'Cause
he
Bottas
makes
is a
you.
flannel.
Yeah, exactly. He makes you look like a rock star because he is nowhere.
Bottas, move over. Okay, yes, James. Okay,
Yeah.
James.
Copy James.
Thanks, copy James.
I mean, fair enough. He's a team player. I'll give him that. But
have
my
some
God,
heart.
just race, man.
Will you let me through
He's
now?
the nicest man ever. He's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the nicest man in
But
F1.
you can't be
but-
nice to win. You've got to be a bad man, which is what we said earlier.
Well, not totally bad.
Very bad. And your second one, Jess,
Linking to that, Mercedes will deny they gave Bottas the win.
even though Hamilton stopped to a halt on the straight.
Yeah, or something
Oh, I
like
had
that.
engine issues. Okay, Tommy.
There'll be a really cheesy overlay on the track saying goodbye to Alonso.
What about Ocon?
There won't be. No.
What about Van Dorn?
Nothing for them.
God.
They're not legends like the
Ocon's a
great
legend.
Fernando Alonso, are
Oh,
they?
do you think Sky and Channel 4 are going to do a big farewell segment for all of the drivers that we're losing this year?
Losing.
Are they dying?
They're no longer with us.
Yeah. Just gravestones.
The people that we lost.
Potentially. Are you throwing this out as a prediction?
Well, yeah, I have.
But we've got 9. I'm sorry, Jess. We'll use it as an honourable mention 10th if it comes through.
I'm going to replace if Bottas doesn't win.
Okay.
I'm going to replace it with
This
that
is a Joker card that never existed, but sure.
It's the last podcast for the season race podcast. So
Yeah, Tommy.
Verstappen will get sick of everyone talking about the Ocon fight and all that kind of stuff, and he'll make some sassy comment and get angry in the press conference about it.
Yeah, I think that's a point already. I think. And my two are Van Dorn will outqualify Alonso.
You really want that one to run,
I'm holding out. Just. I mean, if he doesn't outqualify Alonso in this race, he's literally got the clean sweep on him, right?
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
I don't. You should know this. You're the founder of WTF1.
I didn't
founder.
know.
So
You know
did we actually?
everything.
We didn't talk about this very quickly, as I just said. The founder. There was someone that came up to you recently.
Oh yeah. So I messaged you about this because if you remember in a really early podcast, you really wanted to make it a thing where my
You were
name
called
was
the founder.
and I no longer had a name.
Yeah.
And I went to the Donington Museum before it closed, RIP, and some kid just comes up to me and goes, "Wait, you're not the founder, are you?"
What did
That
you
makes
say?
me so happy.
I said, "Yeah, I am. Nice to meet you." And in my head was, "For sake, Matt."
I'm so happy. If anyone ever meets Tommy from here on in, please call him the founder. Thank you. And my other one was Sharrrrrl will be best of the rest. Shout out to Sharrrrrl, best of the rest in that last race. 7th. Nice. That'll be 3 times in a row if he does it in Abu Dhabi. Good. Fan predictions. Victor Kendo, easiest one stop of the season. At Jose Curva 22, Max will get to 3rd in the World Drivers' Championship, which means he needs to overhaul a 17-point deficit to Kimi Räikkönen, which means a 2nd or a 1st place with Kimi do anything.
that's-
I was going to say over Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, I think Kimi's going to
Kimi
get
does, yeah. Kimi
will be on the podium.
Who knows?
with
And
sunglasses on.
And fine, I want to see Kimi on the podium. Last time out, Ferrari,
Could be his last ever
With his
podium.
sunglasses.
probably. I mean,
That's a
definitely.
sad thought.
It's a Sauber. I mean, it's definitely
Never
gonna be
know.
there, yeah. And finally, at Woodsy 2020, Fernando Alonso will stand on the podium at some point.
He does only have ironic podiums now, doesn't he? In
Yeah,
F1,
like on
Yeah.
Brazil with
Interlagos and
Jensen
stuff.
and
What was
yeah.
it? Monza with Jensen as well.
Yeah.
Was it at Monza as well?
Yeah.
He did, yeah. He's always just.
He
He's,
just
there.
loves
he's,
it. He just
he's
loves
there
to
for
step up on
banter,
the
isn't he?
podium.
he's a meme now. He's gone from world champion to meme. He's just accepted it.
Wow. I can see the headlines now. Alonso from world champion to meme.
That would be his FOM graphic. Just
His-
Fernando
his-
Alonso meme.
His epitaph.
Yeah, whenever he's just in the paddock, just
Yeah.
meme.
They
Cool.
should put. He's got a museum. They should put the deck chair in it. That'd be cool.
Yes. Why has no one done this yet? Imagine if you could sit in it.
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, there's nothing else to say in this podcast. Thank you so much for watching the Brazilian Grand Prix WTF1 podcast. Sorry for talking so much about Ocon and Verstappen. Please don't kill me for my thoughts. Although I think Max, I think
The comments are already there. Don't
Tommy
worry.
will kill me. Yeah, I can already see people typing, even though it's not even out yet. And Jess,
That's
any final thoughts? Yeah, I know I've given it to you this time, not Tommy. Final thoughts of anything?
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why can't I think of words?
I know, isn't it? It's amazing.
Can you believe it's
It's
our last podcast?
horrible.
Well,
in the
last,
room.
Yeah.
In the,
No,
in the
well,
cupboard
might
of
have
It
an
is
end
our
of
last
season.
podcast in the
End of
room.
season podcast, no?
Oh yeah, we
Would-
might do an end of season podcast.
Yes, we are, Ali. We might do.
Boxes.
We'll remove the
We'll
boxes.
move the boxes. Thank you, Ali. Or we'll be in the boxes. Tommy, final
We'll have
thoughts?
sold everything by then.
Final thought?
Yep.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.